Okay, thank you. Greetings, everyone. This is Todd Byerther. This is Washington State Building Co-Council Legislative Committee for February 15th, 2024. Let's please take roll of committee members.
Okay. Todd Bayreuther.
Here.
Damon Doyle. Michelle Anderson declined the meeting. Micah Chappelle.
I am here.
Jay Arnold.
Here.
Matthew Hepner. Tom Handy.
See Damon.
Representative Alex Ramel. In fact, Damon Doyle.
Here.
So we have 4. Well, that is a quorum.
Okay, thank you so much. I'd like to welcome anyone from the public that'd like to be recognized at this time. Okay, hearing none, let's go into reviewing and approving this agenda. Can I hear a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Damon and Jay. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? So approved. Item 3 to can I hear a motion to approve the 2 meeting minutes? First one is February 1st in front of us, I believe.
Yep.
Move to approve the 2 sets of meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Okay, any discussion or proposed edits? Including anyone from the public that sees something. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Thank you, so approved. Okay, legislative update. Stoyan, I think we can just jump right in with the discussion about, you did put the cutoff calendar up, correct?
Yes, the calendar. I want to show you the cutoff calendar first. We passed 13th, which was the last day to consider bills in House of Origin. And the next one approaching is February 21st. Last day to read in committee reports from opposite house. So again, 13th and 21st, we have a list. Just give me a second. These are the bills that are live. So it's a longer list, but most of these bills we're monitoring. And I highlighted and put on the top the bills that we with high priority. So this one, 1899 for the wildfire reconstruction, it was low and monitoring, and we turned it to high because the State Building Code Council was added to it recently. Katie Shigan, she had some concerns with it. So whatever you want me to show, I will show it on the screen and we can discuss it.
Well, in that one, since Katie, I don't think Katie's with us today, but Stoyan, are you able to, oh, you are, Katie?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Do you would you like to raise your question or concern?
Yeah, I know that when everybody originally looked at this, there wasn't a huge concern about it for a lot of folks, but from my perspective, so what happened here is that it kind of turned into a grant program because Representative Riccelli amended it. And then at the very last minute, they added back a section 3 here. Yeah, that's highlighted. And, I am just concerned that it's a vague, it just brings us back in. I want everybody to look at it, and it's I don't know how much it actually affects the the overall code. Initially it said that anybody who was a victim of wildfire would be able to build under the code in effect at the time of the fire, and now it's just about propane as a secondary heating source. But I don't know, I don't totally love this, so I wanted to just bring it to everybody's attention and see what everybody thinks. And Representative Ramel was the only nay vote on this, and so I really respect his work and what he brings to the table there. So that's what kind of alerted me to this anyway, was his no vote. So I don't know if there's more questions or.
Thank you, Katie. Is anyone else on the call able to kind of speak more to this of what this this section is particularly that we're looking at here exempts?
I read the bill last night after the sheet came out, and it's kind of, the wording is rather interesting. We didn't do anything to prohibit propane. As I read it, I don't know if it would apply to table 406.3. At the end of the day, I mean, the real concern is that people's insurance may not be able to cover rebuilds because they haven't factored in the additional costs of code improvements. And I kind of wish that was in there. I think that was the original intent of the bill. You can see that the number 2 on the screen there. Can't prohibit the construction or use of a propane tank as a secondary heating source, but we don't prohibit that. I don't know if that means it would change our point system or not, but yeah, I think it could be improved, but there's nothing derogatory in it.
Damon, in your read, does it somehow exempt the energy code? Because as understood as it evolved, right, is meant to supplement to that exact concern there, but not bypass the new codes.
Correct, and even in the bill report, it talks about that. So I think there was some intention there. But again, we don't have anything currently restricting the use of propane as secondary heating source. So it doesn't really apply if you read 1 and 2. So
Damon, but when I look at this, the provisions of this chapter, what else are we not seeing on the screen here that it does not apply?
nothing.
Okay.
Nothing else is code related.
Okay.
It has the same text in 1927A 015 or similar text.
So that section does say shall not apply to the rebuild.
To the extent that it would restrict propane as a heating source.
Well, or energy efficiencies, which is the basis of. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that so to the extent that it would require additional energy efficiencies or offsets on restrict or prohibit the construction or use of propane. So I guess it's like, my question is, to do propane, does the current code have additional, points to use propane as a energy source or secondary energy source? Like, or does that affect that, or is it?
If I can answer that, yes. If you choose to go a fossil fuel route, it is much more difficult to comply. You can't comply under fossil fuel without adding solar or doing some crazy envelope stuff. So I could be interpreted that way if I'm going to go. But see, they're saying as a secondary heating source, not as a primary heating source.
Right.
So we've got when you go to what used to be the very first part of the code, the fuel normalization credits. We call it something that different now. You can go a heat pump with no supplemental or a heat pump with, and there's a 1.5 difference between the two. So again, it could be interpreted then that you would have to treat a heat pump with supplemental propane as a heat pump without. That's going to be up to the Spokane Building Department.
Right. So I guess because when I first read it, I was like, well, the code doesn't prohibit propane, so this seems like it's just maybe clarifying that. But now on that read, there are credits that are going to be given because of this.
It could be interpreted that way, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I just feel that the legislature should know that, because I don't know if, many of them are as familiar with the code as, say, you are.
Sadly.
Okay, so as a body, of course, we can't take a position on this, but we can ask for clarification or raise this concern that maybe it's not even perfectly clear to us that whether this is bypassing the code, but I think there's enough questions here that is this something the committee feels could at least be discussed with the committee now there's a committee or the sponsors.
Mm-hmm.
1899 was in the schedule for today's hearing at the Senate Local Government Committee, but it was removed, I think, this morning.
Okay.
So this is why when I showed you the calendar, the schedule, it's not there.
Okay. Estoin, are you already in contact with the committee now?
Which one?
On the
Regarding
Senate side now, the local, or on the, yeah.
I just
Local.
saw it's not. I just saw it's not on the schedule. It was there last night, so I guess it was removed this morning.
Okay. Okay.
See, Jay's
But
got.
I
Oh, sorry.
haven't. I saw the amendment yesterday. I haven't provided any testimony or it got me surprised. I know Chill and Katie exchanged a few emails, so this is how I learned about the amendment. And I think Chill's reading into this amendment was similar to what Damon was saying.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
also said she agreed with Damon, so that's a Krista is my right hand for the energy code. So well, when you read it, it's true that it's difficult to make any interpretation to it. So I don't know what the intent was. I can reach out and try to figure it out, but so far we evaluated it. Staff evaluated it for our purposes, but we haven't reached out to anybody.
Okay, thank you. Jay's going to explain it to us.
No, just want to confirm what I'm hearing here, because boy, once the lawyers and the building officials look at the commas in this particular clause, it will take quite a while to figure out whether these are individual requirements or joint. But what I'm hearing is, because of our EPCA related changes, we allow fossil fuel fired appliances. And this change would allow that fossil fuel fired appliance without the additional energy efficiencies that's required. And I think that is, if that's the interpretation we're seeing, I think it's definitely worth making sure that the legislature is aware of the impacts of this, that we're walking back on those requirements.
Yeah, I agree. It's confusing at best, and if that's their intent, then perhaps they can be stated more clearly. Okay. Anything else we should discuss on this one? Is that an action then, Stoyan, to at least ask for a little more clarity?
If this is the desire of this committee, my question is, should we ask the council tomorrow for official formal position on this bill, or
I think it's always we should take every opportunity we can when we get the council together during session to at least brief them and raise this as a question of whether the council wants to take action. I think that can be our role as a committee to at least flag this, raise it to the level of the council. And if it's possible, Stoyan, if someone can collect a little more information from the sponsor of this section or of the bill or the committee, that would be helpful. As much as they're willing to talk about it.
will do?
Okay, thank you. Anyone opposed to that?
No, I just, if you look at the overall bill, they created some grant funding. People that lose their homes in a wildfire tragedy really need all the help they can get. And sadly, insurance companies they're like, hey, you built this house in 1991. We're going to insure it to the code that was in place in 91. So we're foisting upon them additional costs that may be outside of what their insurance covered. I know this was a big deal in Denver, or not Denver, but near Denver in Colorado, where they had the big fire and lost several hundred homes. As people couldn't build to the new code, the insurance company didn't cover it. So therein lies the real issue, and I think they deserve a little bit more sympathy.
Go ahead, Micah. Thank you, Damon.
I agree with Damon on that. I don't think this is majorly restrictive. It just gives the secondary fuel path allowance without additional efficiencies. You still have to comply with the rest of the codes as it states in the last sentence of section 2A right there. So I don't think it's that major. You scrolled past that, Stoyan, if you're moving the wrong way there. Section 3, item 2A, last sentence. I need to be more clear. But again, this is limiting. It's very specific to houses built lost during I think it's like a 6-month timeline in 2023. And then it does expire June 30th, 2026. So it's not like this is in perpetuity. So if somebody never built there and they come back 5 years from now, that they wouldn't have to meet the energy code. So I think this is a good benefit. I believe that until the amendment yesterday, I know that WABO supported this bill. I'm not sure how they feel about this amendment, but I don't think it's that major. We're not capturing a ton of homes here, and I think it is a benefit to those ones that lost those structures. Thanks. So I agree with Damon. Thanks.
Thank you, Micah. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, thanks everyone for all of your feedback. I totally hear you, Danon and Micah, and I struggle with it though, because this is kind of precedent setting. Like, once we start tinkering with the code, we, like, for this disaster, what is the next one that we tinker with? And so this is a really, it's going through the process. That's what it's for, but it's also it's about precedent as well. And I wonder what people think about that. But that might be a question for the council tomorrow.
Thank you, Katie. Andrea?
Yeah, Andrea here with BIW. I think this problem speaks to the issue of not considering costs when you're looking at code adoption. So I would behoove the council to maybe consider costs a little bit more when adopting codes, so that people don't have to lose their house in a wildfire and then have to come up with $20,000 to $50,000 that they may or may not have because they don't have the right insurance. So just want to put that top of mind. The decisions that are made by this council are very impactful, and unfortunately, it's hurting home builders and homeowners.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, and what I'll say is, you know, and I don't want to get into a discussion about cost benefit in this committee right now. That is a consideration. But what I did happen to join the local delegation in Olympia, including the mayor of Liberty Lake, and in my, you know, observation, everyone understood the situation well, the concerns, and I think it's good that it's raised to obviously the legislature and maybe even tomorrow on the council. I think the focus was on trying to find the right tools, whether it's relaxing the code, because it's not just the building codes that were in consideration here. It's you know, how do they replace infrastructure that wasn't, you know, that needed, you know, that were on septic systems and so forth, and at least things in you related ecology being on you know, these lake properties and so forth. So it's much more complex. I have confidence that all the stakeholders in the legislature actually understand it. I think the focus for us could be how to help them on this technical issue, on whether if their intent to relax, that's their prerogative, and if it's their intent to meet the current energy code and supplement on funding, then just I think our request is to be clear, and we can help them. So okay. All right, if there's nothing else on this one, let's move on. Thank you.
2071 is the next one. It was modified a few times. We talked a little bit about it. I know Micah had some concerns, so if I can show it on the screen.
Yeah, I'll start that. I did watch it, you know, on the floor. It was very brief. You know, the sponsor is very clear. They want this in the residential code. So, um, you know, I think the language is a little more flexible for the state building code council. I think it still is very specific that it shall be in the residential code, but that's again their prerogative. I personally would like to see a little more flexibility for the code council to help the legislature find the best solution to their intent. Go ahead, Micah.
Thanks. There's still some concerns with this, of course, as Todd pointed out. There's a lot of open questions. I mean, Katie just brought up the fact of being concerned about energy code. There's no answer on this. Are we now going to allow these 6-unit buildings to meet the residential energy code, which is much less robust than the commercial energy code? That's not answered in here, but I believe that's the intent, is to make this easier and be out of the 1 and 2 family dwelling code. So there's so many open questions on this one and where it's going to end up. Again, I support this in a certain way. However, we only have to consider things. It's not a requirement to put them in there. So we'll see how this plays out. Looking forward to it. I know that WABO Technical Co-Development has had a work group put together on this for almost a year now, based on this proposal that came in as legislation last year and the proposal that came into the State Building Code Council almost 3 years ago now, that we all voted unanimously to not support. So interesting turn of events, but we'll see how it plays out.
Thank you, Micah. Yeah, you know, the thing I would add is, you know, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I'm looking forward to, if this goes through, of having this you know, this public process on this, and what a lot of the work that we've been doing in the state and even at the federal level has been focused on understanding how other, you know, countries like Sweden and Japan and others have tried to adapt to these new typologies, because that's essentially what we're talking about here. And it's interesting that they've actually taken more of a performance-based approach to fill this gap. And that has been the thing that has driven down cost and allowed them to, you know, really deliver on these building types. So, but it's kind of premature to have that discussion while the legislature's writing policy, just asking for flexibility to bring that to a public process. So, okay. Anyone else have anything to discuss here?
I like your comment about the performance approach on that, Todd. I said I like your comment on the performance issue of other countries. We're not taking that into account here. Most code changes, as you know, Todd, are driven by some type of data or technology development driven by data and getting that in the code. This is not. And there's no data to support that this works. Usually there's data to support it the other way, where things like townhouses should actually be in the building code and not the residential code because they're built similar to multi-unit housing in the building code. So this interesting concept. Again, I do support the concept. I think I've mentioned before that we would like to see it more robust and maybe create an entirely new code that covers 3 to maybe even 12 unit housing to really find that middle housing requirement, not just up to 6 units. But it's an interesting thing. But again, this is not data driven, so it's going to be a lot of discussions on how we approach this and what data we can bring from proven data from the building code and those code changes and bring them into this item. So it's going to be fun discussions. We're already having them, but fun discussions at the state. I also know that this will probably end up being a national level item based on our contacts throughout the country for code development. So, but it's not to the level we are here in Washington. Of course, they usually aren't, but good times.
Yeah, just to support that, I had the privilege last week of being in DC at HUD with ICC representatives, and that this was discussion. No one's talking about preemption using HUD type, but what role can they play along with ICC to help develop either model code or at least guidance on this exact issue. So, okay. I don't know if there's an action here except to again raise those concerns. I think we've raised them, and now that it's in the Senate side, maybe there is a discussion to be had with whatever committee it lands in. I assume housing.
So here is 2071. It's scheduled for public hearing today at 10:30. Unfortunately, we will have the special counsel. Yeah. And what was the other one? Right here, 20th at 8 o'clock. This is the executive session for local government committee.
20th. Okay. Thank you.
Next one is 5657. It was modified. Give me a second to show you on the screen. So here is a modification, the amendment to the bill. It's in the definition for kit homes. So 4A doesn't mention the manufactured homes, but it refers to the United States. It refers to HUD and their safety standards. And the second one is kind of taking care of LNI doing the inspections, but at the same time, at the bottom, kit homes under 800 square feet on private property or public property are exempt from this chapter. So LNI, as far as I'm aware of, they adopt particular, codes for their factory assembled structures, and at the same time, this bill exempts kit homes under 800 square feet from compliance. So sharing personal opinion.
Yeah, I know I'm jumping in a lot here today, but this one concerns me. I don't know that, quite frankly, the authors of or HUD would necessarily support this. And there's current legislation a bill proposed at the federal level to take away the chassis, and that's creating all sorts of just frankly chaos in how that would even be, what that would mean. Does that mean that HUD code now applies to what we call modular? In this case, it's at the state level, bringing it, in my read, to a tiny home type approach here, which again, there's model code already for that. So I'm kind of not clear what the technical intent here is.
I can guess a little bit here. The original bill didn't refer to any specific standard. So in the example is you get a wall, assembled wall, and you construct the kit home on the side. So who is inspecting we raise the concern, who is inspecting this parts, a wall or a plumbing cord, or whatever it is. I guess the sponsor was trying to clarify and provide some reference to specific standards. So that was the answer to our concerns. It's not only our concerns. I think other entities, other stakeholders also raised this concern.
Hey, Micah, go ahead, and you're in charge for 3 minutes while I step away.
Man, I should have raised my hand. I'm just kidding. The changes are fine. I think the changes to the definition and providing some guidance is a good thing. However, the exempt from permit is still a big issue. That statement in Section 3 would actually require jurisdictions to accept substandard housing. If there's no permit required and nobody's looking at it, how are we getting anything? You're not getting seismic design. You may not be getting snow load designs. You may not be meeting wind load designs specific to your jurisdiction. And if you're not getting a permit, maybe you're not getting energy code requirements either. Maybe LNI is looking at these, but if you don't require a permit, I don't know. I don't have an answer. I know LNI is not necessarily looking at the Washington State Energy Code for guidance. So you might be getting new housing that doesn't meet any requirements, but I don't know. Since I got put in charge by Todd for a minute, go ahead, Damon.
I'm not reading that it says they're exempt from permit. It says they're exempt from this chapter, subject to permitting.
I believe that's what this chapter is about, is requiring a permit for those.
But subject to permitting is right there. I guess maybe that's confusing.
Yeah, it might be confusing, but we're reading that as these are exempt from the required permits of a jurisdiction.
I'm not clear.
Chapter 1920, RCW 1927 has one section that refers 1927-040, I think it was, refers to cities and counties pertaining to enforcement, but it's a state building. It is a state building code in 1927. So I assume the intent was to exempt these structures from compliance with the building code, but it still refers to local permitting by incorporated cities or towns. That was part of our initial analysis on the bill.
So are you saying you read it the same way, Stoyan, that this would be exempt from this chapter, which is about obtaining a permit?
No, I think contrary to that, it exempts from this chapter from compliance with the building code, but not from permitting. So cities and counties, they will be required issue the permit for these units.
For the
I'm still,
PUD.
I'm still not sure, what kind of standards will be applied. Again, I assume the sponsors of the bill, excuse me, they were trying to clarify that, referring to HUT and LNI, but it's unclear to me how this will work. And I'm an office guy, so I'm not the enforcing agency or the builder. So I hope there are folks that will have a better perspective how this will work.
I think my concern here is in this part is the HUD code is not intended for this in my understanding. It's very specific to manufactured homes, and that's a different type. That's the only national federal code that exempts or preempts, local HUD, and to kind of use it to a different typology is confusing to me. And does anyone else have experience in that and can shed light on that? Or talk a little bit about tiny homes in model code. I mean, it is a section in IRC now, right?
It really doesn't have much in there other than size and some energy code
Okay.
modifications based on what we did in the last code cycle and bringing forward more or less the lofts or sleeping lofts. Well, sleeping lofts originally, now to be lofts, into the residential code, because that was pretty much the main makeup of the tiny house stuff. So I don't know. We'll see where this bill ends up. And I don't know exactly how Wabo's reading this. I think we're watching it and have that same concern. Just since item 6 in here is the residential building permit, meaning that it's issued by a city or county, and this exempts it from this chapter. I don't know. That's how I would interpret it. You don't have to get one. It's less than 800. But again, interesting discussion point here. I think these have a place. I just don't know. Again, I'm with Todd. I don't know if you don't apply HUD standards. What do you apply?
And just for everyone, HUD standards are out of our purview. So
I can reach out to the staff that worked on the bill so I can ask a little bit more about the intent.
okay. I think it's valuable. Thank you. Anyone else? We technically have about 20 minutes left for the council meeting. Anything else here? I would like to talk about oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Which one?
Either one.
Which?
Both.
This is for the WE code that basically gets the authority from the State Building Code Council to adopt the WE code. Do you want me to open it, or?
I think a touch base with where it is would be valuable.
Okay, there it is. So we touched a little bit on it last week. The original bill didn't have the direction for the Department of Natural Resources to develop the map, and now there is a requirement that DNR must develop these maps. It will take between 18 and 24 months. This is what we were told, for DNR to develop the maps. And we were discussing what are the options before the council. So the option based on the emergency clause here, the option is, if this bill goes through, we will initiate an emergency rulemaking, and we'll delete the sections that the council has adopted. And then we need to initiate an off-cycle rule to adopt the adoption. my English is not enough to describe that on a permanently. And then after the DNR map is developed, the DNR maps actually, we need another off-cycle rule to adopt whatever we're required under this bill. That's a staff standpoint. What is the process for this if the bill goes through?
Go ahead, Micah.
I think we'll end up discussing quite a bit of this tomorrow once we debate the public comment hearing as well. Maybe we're going to stay away from this. I don't know. There were some things stated in the public comment hearing that were just flat out false, misleading, misinformation. But overall, I don't have too many issues with this bill, other than I believe it is very precedent setting for the State Building Code Council. This bill removes your authority to adopt any modifications to the Wildland Urban Interface Code or adopt the Wildland Urban Interface Code as a whole. So I think that's pretty precedent setting for the State Building Code Council. There's no other codes in here that says we can't adopt, modify, change, or whatever else, but this one does. And yet we remain neutral on it. I agree that the maps are not what they should be. To some extent, we made some changes to try to address that. Folks aren't satisfied with that. But this doesn't make any better either. So again, I don't have any preference for what's in the bill. But I do have concerns if Stoyan wants to scroll up to section 1, number 4. That states pretty much, when it lists the codes in RCW 1927-031, it says that only those portions of 1927-560 will apply. And we cannot modify that as a State Building Code Council. That is precedent setting. Thanks.
So the neutral position, just to describe, for the members of the public and probably some council members that they came on board later. So the direction from the council for the staff is keep neutral position until the council votes on something to oppose or support a bill. This is why it's a neutral position. The council hasn't taken an official position on this one.
Thanks for that. Thanks for that clarification, Stoyan. And that's helpful. This is a tough one. Ties our hands, good or bad, and it makes the only mitigation measures for jurisdictions to do structure hardening. So no matter what, you have to do structure hardening if you fall within that map. I've spoken about this and trained about it. The version we have currently allows for other ways to do this, allows other mitigation measures, and allows a possible path to not have to do any structure hardening based on other mitigation opportunities. This takes those away from jurisdictions, and it may incorporate more of the jurisdiction into those maps. If folks aren't aware of what hazard maps looks like, I suggest you go and look at the FEMA mapping that does this. It pretty much takes the entire third of the Washington state and puts it in a high-risk category, which means the entire third of the state would have to do structure hardening with no other mitigation allowances. It's going to impact a lot of people, probably worse than what folks think. Again, however, I'm not too concerned about that because we're just going to get overruled on that. This bill has a lot of support. However, I think the council should speak out against taking away the authority of the SBCC to adopt or modify anything else. Thanks.
You, Micah. Jay.
Just wanted to clarify something that you just said, Micah, that might impact what I think of this particular bill. I think it's one thing to say the State Building Code Council can't adopt a particular statewide standard, but in your view, does this preempt local governments from adopting part of the WUI as well?
No, it does not. That stays in the bill as it is currently in legislation that says these jurisdictions can adopt the entire WUI code or portions thereof. What is not stated in here and still does not give them authority to do is amend that. Again, that's where we got this answer from Dirk in previous State Building Code Council meetings where we asked publicly, And the answer was, according to the RCWs, that this says you can adopt the whole thing as written or portions of it, but there's no room for amendment unless those amendments are approved by the State Building Code Council based on a different RCW. So yes, they can amend it, but it's got to go through the State Building Code Council process to get approval.
That's an important point. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay, for that question. So we obviously have WUI code on our schedule tomorrow. Is there support for having an objective, presentation of what is in this bill tomorrow, and then see if there's desire for council action?
I would like to bring this up at least based on that limitation of the Building Code Council's authority and how precedent setting that legislation is.
Okay, thank you. And Stoyan and Damon, Damon as on the agenda, legislative committee is on the agenda. Is that the appropriate place for any of these concerns?
I think so, yeah,
Do you support that, Damon?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
And this has a next committee hearing on the 21st, which I believe is next Wednesday, so.
Okay. Okay. Okay, I think we've collected that. Thank you. I think we have time for this 6120. Is that no, not 6120. What's the next one? Oh, you're showing us the
Yeah, it's on February 20th.
okay.
So if the council directs, staff or the chair, whoever, we can provide public testimony. This is the last one. So 6291 is the State Building Code Council bill. There was a companion bill 2465, which was almost the same. It didn't pass. It didn't pass the House, so it's formally dead. But 6291 is still moving, and we don't have that much time today, but Micah and I talked a little bit about it, and I promised him to reach out to Dirk. He had some concerns about the connection between the emergency rules and the off-cycle rules. I did. So I have the information. I don't know if you want me to share it briefly now. Or...
I think we have a couple minutes, but we don't want to pinch you in for the special meeting.
Micah had a few concerns, but one was the connection between the emergency rule and the off-cycle rules. So the bill initially didn't refer to the off-cycle rules when it talks about emergency rules, because the intent was that the emergency rule is adopted under APA 3405-350, if I remember correctly. It's effective for 120 days, and then the council has the option to let it expire or start an off-cycle rule. So this is why the bill doesn't clarify that. I coordinated with Dirk on that one, and I think he agreed with that there is a connection in the APA between the emergency rule and the off-cycle rule. And he will attend the meeting tomorrow, so he can speak a little bit more about that.
Okay.
And the other thing that I want to say, again, my opinion is that not a perfect bill, but it's a step in the right direction.
Go ahead, Micah.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Stoyan. I know it's not a perfect bill. And I did listen to what Dirk and Stoyan had to say on that. My concern was how they're making that connection was an interpretation, but there's not a legal connection in the language to do so. And what I mean by that is, if you all read section 1, item 6, that says there's pretty much off-cycle rules will be prohibited unless they're directed by the legislature. But then there's an allowance for emergency rules. Once an emergency rule expires, another interpretation would be unless that emergency rule is directed by the legislature, that there's no path for an off-cycle rule. So that was my concern. Again, Derek and Stoyan believe that through interpretation we can get there, which is fine, but Someone may challenge that based on the fact that it's not in the law or not in the language of this law. So that is where the concern lies, is there's no path for us to connect an emergency rule to an off-cycle rule in order to continue that emergency rule based on the current language of this bill. Storian did indicate that he would be open to putting in that 2/3 vote requirement for the off-cycle rule, which I thought was important, and maybe we can get that in and supported through the SBCC and get that in before the bill has its final go round. So we've got that in there for emergency rules. It should be beneficial to have the same language for the off-cycle rule. Thanks.
The issue, the time issue with this bill was that it was introduced during a council meeting, and now we have a hearing tomorrow at 10:30, but we have the council meeting again. It's just a bad timing. So each time we talked about this bill, I try to share the concerns that council members raised, but again, that's not my bill. I just provided my technical expertise or whatever expertise is, but it's not. I'm not changing the things. I can suggest, but I don't. I'm not a senator, and I don't want to be.
Sorry to laugh. Okay, well, there's some questions here tomorrow, perhaps that we can re-raise. I think my last reading of the bill, and it made it through the floor of the trade associations, I still have serious questions about being able to put largest trade association for some of the seats on the council. I think it makes sense for some of them. I know where it came from in the litigation a few years ago. With home builders, with general contractors, I think it could make sense for architects. I have no idea what it means for my position in manufacturing, representing manufacturing installation of building materials. If Marshmallows was the largest trade association to build buildings out of, that's their seat. It doesn't. I'm not even sure they're for trade laws. You could do that kind of thing. So I just have lots of questions on that stipulation. That's the largest trade association for each one of our seats. So if there's any help technically that someone can provide on what that would mean seat by seat of the 15 seats, that would be my ask.
This wasn't proposed by me, and I attended one of the discussions about this, and when Senator Wilson and a representative from were discussing this, so they agreed on largest trade associations, because their opinion was like yours. It's difficult to outline which one is the largest one, so they put the largest state associations in some language after that. But again, that's remember that this bill started with the language that Senator Wilson had in her bill last session. I can't remember, 51 something. So it's not Stoyan's bill again.
But I just, I know in the state of Washington, you cannot, write policy that says that favors a certain material for trade reasons. And so it's just little things like that I don't think are thought through. So, okay.
We have it on the agenda, but will be discussed tomorrow again.
Okay. Okay, well, I think we better allow everyone to transition here. So unless there's anything else, is there anything else? I'll ask. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the council meeting. We are adjourned.